This episode of the podcast is brought to you by our partner, Audible.
Yes, it is. So we are partnered with Audible. That means that if you are looking just to check it out, you don't want to put your card in and just take the dive. You can get 30 days for free on us. If you go to audibletrial.com/JATG or click the link down below, you'll be taken there. You can sign up for 30 days for free and just test it out. Like there's a lot of stuff on there that you can get for free, a lot of Audible exclusives. But what I really like about Audible is that out of the hundreds and thousands of audiobooks that they have, if you decide to purchase something, that is yours forever. Like if you decide not to carry on your subscription or you want to take a break or whatever it is, you can always go back and listen to that book whenever you want through the app on the internet. Doesn't matter because it's yours. So once again, you can get that for 30 days for free on us if you go to audibletrial.com/JATG.
And we should be live. Thank you once again for joining Johnny and the Greg. How you doing, big guy?
I'm fine.
You're just fine. Are you having a blah weekend?
It's a interesting day. We're packing my son up to go to France tomorrow.
Oh, that's always fun.
So he's taking off for the class trip, and what does he need to take? What does he not need to take?
Yeah.
Back and forth. And
yeah. That gets a little draining. A little
he
weird.
has two parents. One is this will be fine. Just send him with this. It'll be okay. He doesn't need that. He doesn't need this. And then one is super prepared. So there's,
Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
That's just and he's caught in the middle going, I don't care. I don't care.
Well, now he doesn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway.
Now he just wishes he could leave the house as soon as he can. But
that's
anyway,
good. It's a sign of independence. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
okay.
What's going on this week?
Oh, we got a lot to talk about. I thought these would be some fun topics. The first one I actually want to talk about is I don't know where this came from, and I'm referring more to you on this because out of the two of us, you're more the music guy. That's your thing. You have a passion for it. You have a wide.
I've got a wide
palette.
Eclectic.
Yeah.
Palette. Yeah. We'll call it a palette. Sure.
Yeah. For this stuff where I'm talk radio, so I don't care.
Yeah.
But I've been hearing for years, and I never asked the question except like lately. What's with all the hate with Nickelback? I don't understand it.
Oh, the Nickelback.
Yeah, I don't understand. Why does everybody hate it? Why does everybody refer to it as like, oh shit, Nickelback? Like, well, I don't understand.
I'm actually pretty famous for saying everybody hates a Nickelback song until a Nickelback song comes on, and then everybody in the bar is singing it, because that's usually how it goes. So,
like, do you know
where it comes from?
Yeah.
I kind of know where it comes from, but at the same time, it's kind of ambiguous. Like it wasn't like a real. Sorry, I'm trying to bring up the feed. It wasn't like a big thing where they came out with one album or one thing where everybody went, "Oh, this is god awful." So, you've and I've kind of, I don't want to say I've dug into this, but I kind of know where it has originated from. Because yeah, I wondered the same thing like not too long ago when I'm like, what exactly is the hate that Nickelback gets?
I'm not a Nickelback fan, but I'm not a fan. Anytime they have a song I'm fine with. I don't.
I saw a comedian did some clips not too long ago, and he's like, "What the hell's wrong with Nickelback?" He's like, "They're like the Guy Fieri of music." He's like, "And for that matter, what the hell did Guy Fieri do to piss people off?" So, yeah. When they came out, they're like a very commercial band. Like,
what does that mean?
So like they hit the mainstream with a bunch of hits, and
Okay.
then their label just wanted to make them hit makers. Like forget about the rest of the album. As long as we get one or two good songs out of each album, that's going to get a lot of radio play.
Yeah.
Like that was a big deal. Like, and when I remember my mom was like, that Nickelback, they had one song that was all about, it was a very like togetherness kind of song, or like,
Okay.
a very touchy feely kind of rock ballad. And she's like, I like them. They're a good band. And I'm like, well, I listened to the rest of their album and they've got a song in there about just him getting with strippers. So I had to like correct her on that a little bit. I'm like, no, that's the radio song that they did. And then the rest of the album is like, I mean, they were signed to a like a metal label. I think it was like Roadrunner Records or something like that. And so when Nickelback started to get really popular, and Roadrunner, who was known for metal, they started to put more money into Nickelback, kind of the non-metal or the new metal band. And so like that started to piss off a lot of their other artists, to where I think even some of the other artists were bad mouthing them as like a shitty rock band, because they weren't putting out like
So the hate
hardcore
started
metal.
the hate started from rivals,
A little bit. So there was
and the rivals
that.
fans spread the word.
And I remember one of the reasons I heard is that there was, so in like the early 2000s, Comedy Central had a talk show with Colin Quinn, and
Okay.
it was
Yeah,
like
I remember that.
Tough Spot
Yeah.
or Tough Crowd or something with Colin Quinn.
Right.
And one of the spots that would run constantly, and remember, this was before streaming, really. So you would just watch the same spot like over and over and over again. And it was, something like, no one talks bad about, what was it? No one talks about the studies that show like bad music makes people violent, but listening to Nickelback makes me want to kill people, or like listening to Nickelback makes me want to kill Nickelback. Or it was like, that was
Something
the
like that.
punchline
Okay.
that was in the commercial. And because Comedy Central was this was like one of their bigger shows, like talk shows.
Yeah.
They would just run that spot over and over and over and over and over and over. So then people started to like laugh at the Nickelback jokes. So there's all like their label, like the other bands on their labels don't like them. There's the Comedy Central, where making them the butt of a lot of jokes. And then their lead singer was kind of a tool. Like he was, I remember seeing him on like talk shows, and he was just like really arrogant. And that's
Okay.
how he came off.
Okay.
So, and he was just like this weird looking white dude with like ramen colored hair. And yeah, so like
it
all
just seems
those
nitpicky. What
it
lead guy
it is.
isn't arrogant?
It is nitpicky. I mean,
Yeah.
but I think all of those things were kind of adding up. And meanwhile, like their competition in the rock space was like Limp Bizkit and Korn and Rob Zombie. And so you had like those like hard dudes. And then over here we had Nickelback.
So we had soft porn.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they were like that to the rock world.
Okay.
And then you throw in that comedians just started using them as the butt of their jokes. And it just like it just snowballed.
It just snowballed. Yeah. Nickelback, if you're listening, I don't have one way or the other. There's a couple of songs I like, and there's a couple of songs I don't.
I've got a playlist, and I have numerous playlists, but I've got one. I think I call it Guilty Pleasures, and there's actually quite a bit of Nickelback
in there. Okay.
Well, I mean, you talk to anybody, like if you're literally in a bar and you go, look at this photograph, everybody knows what's coming next, and they will join in the song. Like if it's a bar where people are like singing along to the music that's playing, or they're getting into it, you throw in a Nickelback
in there. Yeah.
It's not like the party stops. They just go, oh, I remember this one. And then they get into it.
You still frequent the bar scene. So I want to transition a little bit.
Yeah, it was out last night.
Okay. What would you say is a more popular bar song nowadays? Is it Living on a Prayer or Pour Some Sugar on Me?
Honestly, I didn't hear either one of those last night, but
No? You probably go to more of a relaxing bar now, though.
I go to
Right?
dive bars. I mean, not super divey bars, but
Right, but no
but
one's
I'm
going there in a fashion show trying to pick up
not at
people.
all.
Okay.
No,
So
no.
that's what I consider more relaxing, where you're just going there to have a
Totally.
beer and
Yeah.
go and have good
Like
conversation.
this is what I could wear
Yeah,
to the bars
right.
that I go to, and no one's gonna look at me sideways.
Right.
Yeah, I out of those two, what was the first one you said?
Don't
Stop Believing?
Bon Jovi's.
Living on a Prayer.
Living on
and
a Prayer
yeah,
or Pour Some Sugar on Me. Which one do you think's more popular at a bar?
it's definitely it's gonna be Bon Jovi. I think that's
Think so?
gonna get more people involved. I mean, Pour Some Sugar on Me is gonna get a lot of people involved if it's
Yeah.
that crowd.
Yeah.
But I still think Bon Jovi is going to be the one that most people are going to go to.
All right. We got four listeners. If you guys weren't hearing before, my question was, what was all the hate with Nickelback? I never understood why people would get pissed. Yeah. I am not a music guy per se. It's really, I guess, on the top 50 things in my world. It's 50. Yeah. It's just not a thing to me. But so. And then my next question was at a bar, at a bar, what do you think is a more popular song? Was it Pour Some Sugar on Me or Living on a Prayer by Bon Jovi? I think it's Living on a Prayer.
I think so. I mean, there's some great, I'm a Spotify guy, and a lot of people can put out their public playlists.
Yeah.
And there is one playlist. It's like songs that get white people lit, I think is the.
I think you brought this up before.
It's a fun one.
It's you got that list, or you're
no? I'm looking up the top 5 Nickelback songs according to Spotify. So, and these are by the number of plays they get.
Okay.
Around
so there's actual data.
Yeah. So this is How You Remind Me. Okay. Rockstar.
Time out. How You Remind Me.
Yeah. I don't know what that is How You Remind Me What I Really Am.
Okay. Got it. Yep.
Rockstar, not bad. Burn It to the Ground. I kind of like that one. Far Away.
Burn It to the Ground. That's Nickelback.
Yeah, that's Nickelback.
Yeah,
it's one of the early ones.
Midnight Light.
Yeah.
Round up too tight.
I like that song. Like that song.
That's what I'm saying. I never understood the hate for Nickelback. I was like, you bobbed your head to it. Anyway.
Animals. That's a fun kind of. That's a dirty song though. I mean,
that's NIN, right? 9 Inch Nails. Animals?
No, that's something else. No, this is one of their lesser known hits, but Nickelback.
Oh, Animals.
Yeah, animals. Okay. Like we're just a bunch of animals is kind of the hook to the song because it's just about him.
Is that a Maroon 5 song too? Like Animals.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it's a popular title, I guess.
Yeah.
So the playlist for songs that get white people lit. Let me look that one up.
Guys, if you're watching on YouTube, you will actually, if you watch my body language, you'll know if a white guy gets lit by it.
Songs that get white people turned. Sorry. Songs that get white people turned. Just running from their number one, and I think these are put in kind of at random, but we've got Living on a Prayer number 1, Come On Eileen by Dexter's Midnight Runners, Sweet Caroline, Sweet Home Alabama, Ice Ice Baby, Cotton Eye Joe. That was
oh god one. I want to that somewhere in hell that's
on repeat.
I go to hell. That's playing on repeat.
Yeah. I'm gonna be the 500 miles that I would.
Okay.
Yep. 1,000 miles did play at the bar last night, and a lot of people were singing to it. That's from the Vanessa Carlton. Teenage Dirtbag, Mr. Brightside. Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley. Getting Rick rolled. Eye of the Tiger, Chicken Fried.
Never Gonna Give You up.
I Love Rock.
Did you hear? Yeah, it's Never Gonna Give You Up. Yeah. Do you ever? There are around places where people have put those. I don't know what they're actually called, but I'm sure if I find something here, I'll have there. But it's something where if your phone picks it up, it'll take you to a website. I don't know what those little things are called.
Oh, QR code. Yeah,
it's QR code. Somebody puts QR codes like on the one I found was the one on Target. They had one on the floor. and I hit the
Oh,
QR
really?
code to see what it was, and it was Rick Heisley's never going to give you
get
up.
Rickrolled. I've seen people get that QR code tattooed.
Yes, I've seen that too. Yeah.
I think that's funny.
Yes, I think that's
But this-
hilarious. That's if you lost a bet, you get that tattoo.
Yeah. By the way, this entire playlist is 182 hours and 55 minutes
Oh wow.
of songs that get white people turned.
Sounds like that's going to be the playlist for a certain person's graduation party coming.
Oh, it certainly could be. I think. We should see because she's gonna make.
Well, she doesn't get a say. She doesn't get a say.
Yeah. My house. I'm playing what I want. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So okay. Any more? Or are you gonna?
That's good. I mean, I'm not going through all
of them. Yeah. All right.
Songs.
Okay.
But you can look that up for yourself and enjoy.
Yeah, from Spotify. So there was another question that came up this week because I think about 2 weeks ago was the last episode of The Last of Us on HBO.
Yep.
And it was for those who didn't play the game and have just watched the series, it was a bit it's controversial. I think it's controversial for the game, but it's that controversy has kind of gone away because like what I mean by that, it's not as popular until the show came on and then everybody saw it. But the controversial end was Joel right for doing what he did at the end?
Oh,
was he right for that? And just to help you guys out, there's going to be spoilers alert here if you haven't seen the last episode of The Last of Us.
Mm-hmm.
Ellie, who is like the quote unquote cure for what's ailing the entire
could be
could be the cure. Joel, the whole I guess series is about him getting her from A to B, right? In one piece.
Yep.
And there's all these little I don't know what you would call them, subplots where it's like Joel is a hard man because he has to live in a world. He lost his daughter. It's almost like he gets a second chance. He fights it, and then he realizes, then he embraces this girl as his like new daughter. He finally gets them to the destination, and he's finding out that the only way that they can create a cure is to kill her.
Yeah, she's going to die. In the process,
right. So basically, it's this conundrum of does the one what is that needs of the many outweigh the few, right? So if they can possibly come up with a cure, but they have to kill this person to do it, she can basically save mankind. Joel takes it upon himself to say, nope, that's not going to happen on my watch, and he kills everybody in that place to save her,
to get Ellie out.
Doesn't tell her what happened. He told her
she's unconscious because she's prepped for surgery. So
the entire time he does it. And I actually watched the ending of the video game, and I watched the ending of the show. The video game's way more brutal.
Yes.
Yeah. Joel doesn't mess around. And somebody came up with the question of, was that the right decision? He saved a life for selfish reasons. He saved a life. But because of that, the world could or maybe doomed it. Doomed the world.
And he didn't give Ellie a choice. Like she wasn't, and she at the end of the show doesn't know that choice was
made,
taken from her.
Yes, correct. Yeah. So I guess my question is, let's kind of investigate it. Like, do you think maybe if the leader of I think her name was Marlene, if Marlene allows Joel to say goodbye, do you think that works? Do you think that he would have been, you think he's still going to go?
I think his
what if she was alive?
Still would have
she got the choice.
I think Ellie would have struggled with it, but I think she eventually probably would have said,
I think she would have
take what you need out of my brain, because that's what they needed to do,
right?
And then saved the world. So to
would
speak.
that have stopped Joel if he knew that was her choice?
No.
I think that would have. If they had a heart to heart where she's like, Joel, this is okay, this is what I want.
I don't know. I don't think Joel's that developed of a character. I think it's still
he still went off an animal instinct.
maybe, yeah. I mean, and maybe if it would have happened anyway,
Yeah.
I still think he would have went through on a killing spree to just let out rage.
Okay.
Because that's his thing, is like he has unchecked rage issues.
No, it's because he's kept everything inside.
Well, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that it's not founded.
Right. Yeah.
But you get the idea, especially in the game, like Joel is 80s action hero level body count that he can get.
Yeah. Yeah. He is.
And
He's like Mad Max meets John McClane meets.
Yeah. And
I wouldn't go far to John Wick. He's not that skilled. He's just
no, it's grittier than that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I don't think he would have agreed
regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like even if Ellie did make her own decision. So, and I have not played the second game, so I don't know.
Okay. Neither have I.
Up.
I know that the next there's going to be 2 more seasons. That's it. That's which
I think that's good.
Me. Yeah.
I like it when a show can say, we're going from here to here.
Yeah.
And we're going to do it in 3 seasons.
Yes.
And this is the perfect bookend. Like we have time to develop. Like we know how long we're going to be on the air. We know what we can do in that time. It gives you like a whole story.
Right.
As opposed to like Game of Thrones, that as soon as they like surpassed where R.R. Martin had written, where George because they went past what was published. And,
yes.
And so now it's like, well, this could be open-ended. We could go forever. And it's like, no.
Well, not only that, it's us. I would also say Lost. Lost had a great idea in the beginning.
Yeah.
But then they threw out all these ideas and it never really connected anywhere. You were like,
even more than that, I watched a thing the other day. Do you remember the show Heroes?
Yes.
Like that was a big thing. That got me into like kind of
put you on the map
a little bit for like when I was doing like independent coverage of like comic book conventions and stuff like that with the pull box. I mean, the pull box was birthed from the most active message board in Heroes TV fandom, which was heroestv.com.
Yeah.
That our buddy Eric and myself, we just kind of got involved with the guy that was running that site. Then we were moderators, and then we were kind of like, we had this idea. He's like, yeah, I don't want you guys to do that on in my sandbox. You can go create your own sandbox and do that. And that's what we did.
Yeah.
But Heroes suffered from the writer's strike. Like they had a really great first season, and then the writer's strike happened where they were bringing in almost like scrub writers, I think. And so those guys in the second season were grasping at, what do we do? Well, they had killed like their major villain and one of the major heroes that everybody loved at the end of the first season. They're like, well, we can somehow bring them back into the fold. And then it just didn't work out. And it just kind of, it was like they were at the height and then they plateaued and then they just took this sharp nosedive. Yeah. And even when they brought back another like Heroes Reborn, like nobody watched it. Like nobody cared.
Yeah. Yeah. There are a lot of shows out there. And so I agree with you. It's very cool. Like there's a show that's coming out now, and Ursula and I were talking about it. The season 2's just come out this weekend, Yellow Jackets on Showtime. Season 1's fantastic because it leaves you hanging with all these unanswered questions. Some of them are supernatural, some of them aren't, but it's such a gray area between realistic and supernatural that it could be explained away by like a scientific phenomenon. So they haven't gone so far supernatural where you're like, yep, Sam and Dina are going to roll in here any second and take care of this thing, And so Ursula and I are sitting there wondering, okay, does it start to get silly now?
Yeah.
Did they start to like jump the shark? There
was another show. It was out for a while. I think it was a Fox show called like Wayward Pines.
Okay. I've heard of that. Yeah.
Great first season. Like first season, you're like, oh my gosh. And then you find out what has happened to the world by the end of the first season. And then we jump into the second season. And now that you know kind of what you're like, they got to do something to keep this interesting, and it just did not work. You're
Oh,
like,
wow.
that's too bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it isn't too bad because, like you said, there's been a lot of shows where the first season took off, and then after that, you're
Yeah.
like True Lies got really weird. It was a very interesting premise. It was very interesting being invited into the world. Not True Lies. True Blood. Sorry.
Oh, True Blood. I was like, True Lies just came out.
Yeah, True Blood, where a very interesting
Yeah.
premise about vampires living among us.
The South, yeah.
Yeah, in the South. And
Well,
then it got weird because you had were vampires and you had just like a vampire god. And it's like, oh my God, like this got too much.
I made it. I know you didn't make it through. I powered through that entire series.
Oh,
Like,
did you? Wow, good for you.
I did. Like, I had dropped off when it was originally out. And when I say dropped off, it wasn't like one of those like, oh, I'm not watching that anymore. I think
Right.
it was just like we got rid of HBO for a time and
Right.
like we didn't. But then when we got it again, I went, I never really finished this. And I know there was one episode that you and I had talked about that was like your point where you're like, I'm out.
I don't care anymore. I literally didn't watch any other episode after that.
Yep. And I got to that episode and I went, okay, this is my power through point. This is
okay.
it was almost like a challenge. I'm like, I
Yes.
can make it through this. I can get farther through this than Johnny did. And then I watched the rest, and yeah, it was fine. Like, even where they ended it, you're like, that was not satisfying. I mean, the way it ended. But
well, it started getting silly to me where Suki's brother got kidnapped to be the father of Panthers.
That was weird.
Yeah. And I was like, why are we doing this?
Inbred Panthers.
Yes.
And
that got so weird to me. And the episode that he's talking about, folks, where Johnny just stopped watching, it hasn't looked back since. And I don't think I'm missing anything because Ursula powered through and she was like, yeah, there was no point anymore. There's a scene where two vampires are going at it, and basically they're going at it, and I think the guy took the girl's head and twisted it around. So she was still alive because she's a vampire. So technically she was dead, but she's moving. She's animated. So she was alive. And it just took me out. I was like, I don't need to see this. I'm done. Because in my opinion, if they showed that, it's only going to get weirder from here. Did it or no?
No, actually, they pulled back.
Calm down after that.
Almost like they pulled back a little bit, and then
they must have known that I stopped watching, and they're like,
Johnny Angel's not watching anymore. We need to stop.
It's over.
But yeah, I mean, I did that with one other show where a friend of ours had a hard out, and I was like, if I can make it through that, I'll be okay. Yeah. And that was Penny Dreadful on Showtime.
Okay. I stopped watching that too.
That was another, I think, darker than True Blood. True Blood was pure like stupid fantasy. Like,
yes.
Where Penny Dreadful was like, oh no, we're getting into some dark witchcrafty kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That I usually turns me off. And they had a thing in there with kids, and I was shocked at how much they showed.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this would be where I would leave. But then I had read like they're stepping it back, like from there, like, okay. So then I finished Washington, and it was okay. I mean, I never watched they did a kind of a reboot series where they were in like turn of the century Los Angeles or something like that, and I never watched it. But
okay.
But yeah.
They had 3 seasons. Yeah. So those were some of the crazy shows that jumped the shark, basically. Mm-hmm. They had a great idea and they just couldn't prolong it. But so going back to the Last of Us, I hear the next 2 seasons and that's where it ends. And the next 2 seasons are based off the video game. Me too. Yeah, I'm fine with it. I want to see how that goes. I know that one season that went so damn long that I'm thinking of powering through is The Walking Dead. I'm thinking of powering through that. Yeah. I don't know where I know I left off with them going to war versus Negan. So I have to figure out what season that is and then power through from there.
I would probably have to start the whole thing over again.
Oh, that'd be rough. Because it's 11 seasons.
It's 11 seasons. Yeah. That's not one where you can't do that 2-3 episodes a night until you're through it.
No, that's a heavy. Some of that stuff's very heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we stopped watching that, and then we got into the spin-off series they had, which was Fear the Walking Dead,
Right. Yeah. I
which
remember
took
that.
place in Los Angeles, and that was good for a while. And then that dropped off.
Yeah. And
And
then it
then they
didn't.
eventually started to cross over characters, I
Yes. Of
believe.
course.
And like I was so lost about the whole thing. And
I hear they're expanding with a show with Rick and Michonne. That's what I heard.
I think, I mean,
Last time
every
I heard, Rick died, so that's just making
yeah,
me go, oh wow, I have to power through this and figure
but
out.
I don't think it, like you never were 100% sure that he died.
Oh,
Like
okay, I didn't know.
it was almost like I think he was in a lose-lose situation, and then they just had to leave. And so
Okay,
they just assumed he was dead.
yeah.
Um, but even I think they did that in the comics, but then they brought him back, and I believe like there's a spin-off comic book series where Rick has like superpowers or something like that. And I
Oh no.
don't know what I mean, the show won't do that. They
Yeah.
lose their audience,
Yeah.
but I know in the comic book it was something like that. And I'm like, no idea. I'm not.
All right, this is where I throw it out to the 5 viewers we have right now. Is there anybody out there that is there a show that you guys are really into the first 2 seasons and then it just
Or
jumps the
just-
shark?
Yeah, just like
Totally.
you're done.
You just totally you saw something, you went, okay, they're only gonna get weirder from here. Like I
And
think
of course, there's the original Jump the Shark of the Happy Days, like where you were in it, and then you saw Fonzie jump over a shark on water skis, and you're like, no, this is silly
yeah,
now.
this is dumb now. Yeah, especially when he's wearing a leather coat water skiing. Yeah, when he's wearing the black leather coat. And I think it was Hawaiian shorts.
Yeah, he had like board shorts on.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah. So that's where the term came from. So let us know. I guess we lost a viewer already. That was too hard of a challenge.
they're like, no, I'm not typing.
Yeah, I wonder if I should not announce for those of our audience that actually listen to the audio version of this throughout the week that we only have 4 live viewers.
Yeah, maybe don't do that. Like that's bad marketing. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, you saw a movie this week that I think everybody wants to see, or a
lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, it had a good showing from what I understand, like 70 million or something like that.
Awesome. So let us know how the Baba Yaga did.
John Wick 4. Oh yeah, Marshall, that's a good one. Last episode of How I Met Your Mother. That jump.
Oh yeah, that blew. That blew. That was so bad. You are spot on, Marshall.
So yeah, John Wick.
Yeah.
John Wick is a 3.5 hour movie. I'm sorry, not 3.5. It is a 3 hour movie where it didn't have to be. I mean, it got to, so it is bloated action scenes, which is kind of what you kind of expect from a John Wick movie.
Yeah.
But it's the bloat crests over 3 hours, and that's where I'm like, okay, we didn't need. Were you
wanting more? What I mean by that is, were you wanting more?
I wanted more. Well, I wanted more story, but in this movie, I wanted closure. And yeah, I'll try to keep it spoiler free, Marshall. I definitely wanted closure, which we get. I mean, I think the world that they created in John Wick. I mean, even in the first,
be wide open for a while.
It can be, yeah. Well, and they have Ana de Armas is doing a series called The Ballerina.
I love her, by the way.
Which is totally set in the John Wick world. Like it is the assassins with the Continental, and the table is what it's called. It's like the ruling council of these assassins.
The high table.
The high table. Yeah. Everybody lives under the table if you're in this world. And John Wick's mission is to get out from under the table. And not that he wants to be an assassin anymore. He just wants to leave the life altogether.
Right.
Which he did, gets brought back in. And then we have spent 3 movies watching him trying to get out.
Yes. Good action scenes.
Yes, they were good. But like I said, some of them were so long. And like stuntmen aren't a dime a dozen. So I'm almost positive like they would set up one scene where they're in Singapore and a lot of the stuntmen are wearing masks. Okay. And then
that helps.
And then later on, you see stuntmen in Paris.
Yeah.
to the point where even in some of them that weren't wearing masks, you're like, I'm pretty sure that guy died in Singapore, and then they just put a wing on him, and he just got shot again.
Sounds to me
So-
like you're nitpicking now.
Oh, totally, because that's what
Okay.
I do when I see movies.
Do you not like that
Critical
about
eye.
like? Can you shut off your critical eye or no?
Sure, I can, and I
Okay.
did. I mean, I enjoyed it. I'm not saying that I didn't enjoy the film,
Yeah.
but I'm saying that it is a bloated film. Like, I'm giving the honest answer. Like, if you're going into John Wick, like you're a fan of the series, like I am, just know what you're getting into. It is a 3-hour movie that probably has in total 30 pages of dialogue.
Yeah.
I am impressed as hell at Keanu Reeves, who's I believe pushing 60.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
he's in the downhill spiral to 60. For him to be able to keep up with what he does, there are some scenes where you're like, that's a stuntman.
Yeah.
And it should have been for sure
Yes.
a stuntman.
Yes.
I don't care if Keanu Reeves was in his 20s.
Look, when you're
But
60, you're 60.
when you see some of these stunts, you're like, that had to be a stuntman.
Yeah.
With maybe some help from some CGI, because ain't nobody doing that.
Yeah.
But like I said, it gets a little bloated. I never found myself just going, oh, can we just hurry this up?
Okay. So you were in.
It wasn't that. There's like one whole section. Like, one of the things, again, this is nitpicky. Like, we start the film, he's in New York. We jump, we're in the Sahara. We jump, we're in Singapore. And you're like, isn't he on like some international wanted? How's this guy getting around? Like, how is he making it from all these ports of call around the world?
John Wick.
Yeah. But then you get to a point where he has to do what can only be called a side mission.
Okay.
Like, in video game terms, he's got the main story, but to really complete the main story, he's got to go on this side mission. And that's where you're like, really? We gotta do a side. And then he's, for the next 20-30 minutes, he's on this side mission before we come back around to the main story.
Yeah.
And you're like, that seemed unneeded. Like, that was a little okay. And it was to bring it was like it's there's a great martial artist in the side mission by the name of Scott Adkins. And you're like, okay, yeah, I'm glad I got to see Scott Adkins. I mean, it was a fun scene.
Yeah.
It just seemed like a last minute addition where
the writers didn't know what to do.
Well, no, like maybe Scott Adkins said, hey, can I be in John Wick? And they went, yes,
we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure out how to get you in the film. And then they just, over dinner came up with this side mission. And you're like, okay. Is it good? Yes. Is it fun to watch? Yes. Is it needed? Not at all.
Help me out, because you would know this more than me. Scott Adkins, Adkins or Adkins?
Adkins.
Adkins. Okay.
I'm almost positive.
He's British, right? Or is he American? Because I was watching one of his shows that I remember our good friend Eric said it was a really good movie and he didn't expect it to be good, was The Accident Man, Hitman's Holiday. And
he's English. He was born in Sutton Coldfield, England.
Okay, so that must be his real voice then.
To a family that were generations of butchers.
Okay. So I only got through a half hour of the first Accident Man, and I've only gotten through 15 minutes of this one.
Accident Man. Okay. Good kung fu, bad movies.
Yes.
That is kind of what has been his career.
Good kung fu, bad movies.
Yep. Or he's been almost like cameo's not the word, but like the movie Day Shift, that was a Netflix film with Jamie Foxx as a vampire hunter.
Yeah.
Mostly good film. And then Scott Adkins and the guy who is the new main character on True Lies on CBS.
I gotta watch that. Is that good?
We watched the first episode. It seemed all right. Yeah.
Okay.
But those two play like vampire hunters, and like they were some of the most interesting characters in the film.
Okay.
Like,
yes, you're right. I want more of those brothers.
Guys. Yeah, you're like, I want something with those fellas.
Yeah.
But yeah, Scott's done some really good stuff, and like Asian martial arts films like where it is serious. Like
Yes.
they're where you have to do your own stunts. You have to be good at what you do.
Yeah.
And he's very good
How
at what he does.
how old is he now? He's got to be pushing 50.
No, he's same as you. Well, I suppose
47. Well, we're pushing 50.
But you're pushing 50. He's born in
I'm getting there.
June 17th, 1976. So he's
Wow.
not quite 47. I've thought for 10 years that he would make a wonderful Batman.
Yeah, we've talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't know if he can carry on the acting chops of Bruce Wayne, but then again,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. In fact, I'm still at the point where I would love to see the DCU do Batman as almost like a mythical character. Like you don't see him much.
Yeah.
In which case, yeah, Scott would be great. Like you see some action scenes, but he doesn't talk much.
Yeah.
And maybe you see Bruce Wayne in like footage or something. I don't know.
I hear you. No, I think you're right. I think that would be very cool to handle Batman that way. Yeah. I think that would be very cool.
So that when he does show up, everybody's like, "Oh my god, he's real!" Yeah. Like, have that be that kind of fun with it.
Yeah. So I want to play a little game with you. I know you happen to be a very good fan of Nobody. That's like a really big.
Yeah, love that movie.
Nobody versus John Wick. Not in a one-on-one fight. What movie's better? I'm not talking about all the sequels. Talking about the first John Wick and Nobody. What do you think's a better movie?
Oh man,
I think you know.
I would go with John Wick.
Really? Okay, interesting.
I would.
Tell me why.
There were like John Wick just had me hooked. In that, here's this guy. I mean, it had cars, it had guns, it had the martial arts piece. It had this gravitas of you didn't know who Wick was, and I was talking to somebody about this just the other day. The scene where John Leguizamo calls the mob boss, the Russian mob boss, I'm sorry, the Russian mob boss calls John Leguizamo, and he's like, "I heard you smacked my son."
Yeah.
He's like, "Yes, sir, I did." He's like, "Why would you do such a thing?" Well, he boosted a car and he beat a guy up and he killed his dog. He's like, "So?" Well, it was John Wick. And the mob boss just goes, "Oh," and like hangs up the phone.
Yes. Yes.
And I remember sitting in the theater like, oh my gosh, because just that one moment of footage.
It's almost like he knew his son was doomed.
Yeah, and you get the feeling of John Wick.
Yes.
In that one instance.
Yeah.
And then they go through and explain, kill the guy with the pencil and blah blah blah.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just, but I hadn't seen that before.
Yeah.
I guess. And it was a lot of fun. I think all the scenes,
they're so fun.
Yeah. They're fun, creative. And I really like Nobody for everything that it had about him.
Yes.
But, and again, from the producers of John Wick, it felt like we're doing John Wick without the mafia. Like John Wick is a mafia hitman where Nobody is a government sponsored hitman. It was, I love both films. Like,
I do too.
Don't get me wrong, but
right. And I'm not trying to say that there is actually a clear cut winner in this. What I liked about Nobody was that could have been anybody. Nobody can be anybody. John Wick was a mythical, like a Batman. He was the Batman. Like, oh my God, what did you do? Yeah. I just rewatched the second one. I'm rewatching all the Wicks before I see 4 next weekend. And the second one, when they introduced that guy who always seems to be the scummy criminal underworld guy. He's all I told you I wanted to get him on the podcast once because I bet nobody ever talks to this guy. He's in all the Michael Bay movies. He's the guy that plays the Russian guy that's always this scummy character, but he's in the beginning.
Oh, yes.
Anton or something like that.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And he was the Russian cosmonaut in Armageddon.
Yes.
He was Lucifer in Constantine.
Yeah. And I remember I didn't remember the dialogue when he's explaining to his assistant, because his assistant's like, yeah, I've heard about the pencil. I've heard about all these things. He's like, why didn't we just like give him the car back? And he's like, he goes, it's just one guy. Like, why don't we just, do everything we can to stop him? And he goes, and I remember the other guy goes, like, yeah, of course, but this is John Wick. You can't do that.
You can't.
Yeah.
And you know what? I don't even know if this guy's listed in the credits.
Oh, he's not? He's in the beginning, but you know who guy I'm talking about. He was
do.
in all the he's in like in every Michael Bay movie, Jerry Bruckheimer.
Does he have he's got a permanent role in those? He's one of their guys.
He just always seems to be in those action movies. When you finally get him or you find him or something like that, put him up on the song. People know what I'm talking about. But anyway, what I liked about Nobody, the only thing I liked about Nobody was that he rides the bus. Like John Wick has a cool car. Yeah. This guy rides the bus to get to place. He is the epitome of, this guy knocks on your door and there is zero fear.
Right.
Because this guy walks in.
What I loved about Nobody's, it opens like how long they let that, like his repetitive life.
Yes.
How long that scene plays.
Yes.
Is ridiculously longer than it should have been to make you feel
like
all of that. You're like, wow, this is really, and then when you find out what he used to do, you're like, oh, this is why he's so bored. This is why he can't. Yeah. Like he's barely
he has all this stuff pent up. And it must just think about being that hard of a man, that hard of an individual, that your brother-in-law sticking a gun in your face, telling you how he would have handled it.
Yeah. He can't, and he just can't. Or even like his son, where he's like, oh, your dad served. He's like, well, I'll just talk to Uncle so-and-so. And he's like, oh yeah. I was just an accountant. Like, or what was it? He was the auditor. Yeah. He's like, I was just an auditor. I didn't do a whole lot. Like, okay.
But nobody, but like, I'm sure there's a couple of actors but that's a perfect casting.
Well, it was, yes. Bob Odenkirk did a fantastic job.
Yes. And he's great at everything, really.
You saw him beat the crap out of the guys on the bus.
Yes.
And you saw him kind of go after the home invaders that came after him.
Yep.
So you see his heart, you see the pent up rage when he's like punching the brick wall.
Yes.
And then when the guys get on the bus and he's like, I'm gonna fuck you up.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay. And then he proceeds to get his ass kicked while kicking their ass. And you're like, okay, so he's definitely human. So
that's the other part I like too.
You get that John McClaney real feel to him.
Yes. But like, wow, he might lose this.
Yeah. And you're going, okay. So he's got some skills, can fight, cool. But really kind of the moment of like how much he was in, like how skilled is he, how comes when the home invaders start to show up and he goes to his light switch.
Yes.
It like pulls the face off, types into code. He's like, go in the basement. And you're like, oh, he's prepared.
Yeah.
Like he was
like the basement was locked down.
Yeah. The basement was really a safe room. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
That's when you start to really realize how big of a badass he is.
Right. What I'm actually interested in, because I've watched this a third time now, his wife must have absolutely known exactly what he is. Because she fixed him, like she super glued his knife wound easily.
Yeah, she's like, just like old times, and you're like, does she know?
Exactly.
Is she?
But then at the same time, she acts shocked.
Yeah,
when he pulls down the thing and he locks her in a safe house.
Yeah,
so it was weird. It was very weird. But the other part where you realize he is prepared is when he says, like, don't worry, fellas, bone burns at 1600 and this basement is designed to burn at 3 times that. So
when he burns,
they won't find you. Down.
Yeah. So Peter Stormare is the name of the actor.
All right, put him up. Right. Just so people see. So this is on YouTube, people, if you want to watch, or if you're on Facebook Live right now.
Peter Stormare.
This guy's the big like
he's from Sweden.
The big scummy dude right here. This guy, he's probably a sweetheart, actually, because he seems to get He seems to get a part in almost any movie around. This guy is one of those guys that's always working, but he plays those roles so good.
Well, he was in American Gods as like this real like
dirty, slimy thing, right?
Yeah, like
that's what he does.
Yeah, and just plays it so well.
Yeah, he's so good at it. And it's like he doesn't, it's like you got to wonder if they sit there sometimes with like the director's like, okay, that's great, Peter. I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah.
Because sometimes he's like, pull the switch, you know, and it's like, what? I didn't hear that. But
and you go, do you need to?
So
I didn't notice he's in a Fast and Furious video game. That's what it is.
Is he really?
But yeah, something Fast and Furious Crossroads. He did a voice for that.
Of course he did. That's the one villain. He has never shown up in a Fast and Furious movie. That's it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bad guys. They go through a lot of bad guys.
He's got a couple like Swedish stuff on here that you're going, maybe I'll check that out. Something called Swedish Dicks. Okay. Which is a detective show.
Yeah.
I'm like, that could be funny.
Yeah. How long has he been working? How long has he been working?
First credit for him on IMDb is listed. Oh my God, 1978.
Okay, so he's a steady actor. He's always working.
I mean, but that's 40-some years.
Yeah.
I didn't think he was that old.
Yeah.
In 1990, he became the associate artistic director for the Tokyo Globe Theater and directed many Shakespearean productions. 93, he moved to New York. Wow, he is older than I thought. He was born in 53.
Oh, wow.
Jeez.
Goodness.
God, he's only 3 years younger than my dad.
Yeah.
I did not think this guy was that old.
Yeah. How old is Christopher Lloyd, by the way? He was in Nobody.
Gosh.
And I was looking at him and I was thinking, God, I remember the first time I ever saw Christopher Lloyd was
we always thought he was old. Like,
yes, yeah. I remember in Taxi when he was Jim in Taxi.
Jim the drunk.
Yeah.
And yeah, I Doc Brown with the white hair, and you're like, I thought this guy was old.
Yeah. I know he was the Klingon in Star Trek 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was the bad guy.
I remember that. Shock Chewie.
Oh gosh, he was born in 1938.
Shut your mouth.
I'm not. October 22nd.
Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd.
1938.
1938. The dude is 85.
Oh my God. I did not. I'm sorry. I didn't expect that, people. That's why I'm shocked.
Born in Stamford, Connecticut, 1938.
Holy shit.
I didn't. Wow.
Wow.
But at the same time, and we've talked about this before. Why not retire? I mean, you've been a working actor a lot of it, and I don't know what his situation is or anything like that. But at some point, like sometimes we don't let celebrities like musicians or actors or somebody. It's like they don't feel like they can retire. Like,
well, musicians, I understand that one. Actors, I don't. If you love what you're doing, why would you stop?
You're exactly right.
Yeah,
like Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, they still love what they're doing, but at some point, you're just like, don't you ever want to like
chill?
Just go live out the rest of your
years.
I
think if you're at the point of Christopher Lloyd, 85, I don't think you want to chill.
Yeah, like
I think if you chill, if you stand still, not a good idea at 85.
Maybe you could. Yeah, I talk about that's Joe Paterno. As soon as
yes, that's a lot of people. I think somebody just recently also died when they quit something. They did it for years, and 6 months later they were dead. I forgot who it was, but yeah, I think it's the same thing. Or that's all they know. They don't know anything else. They don't. It's what you do. Do you think you're going to be one of those guys that when you retire, you're just going to sit on your ass?
No, I hope not.
I think you're going to sit on your ass for a month and then you're bored out of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my parents are retired and they're still plenty busy with doing stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's, I mean, I don't think sitting around would be the word I would use, but not being obligated to be as many places. I think that would be.
I hear you. I think I would still work. I think I'm one of those people where I need a reason to hit the snooze alarm or hit the alarm clock. I need
Yeah.
that. Because the days I don't have that, like when I went, when I have my month-long sabbatical from work because I
Yeah.
save up all my vacation and I have to waste it.
Which, by the way, is not good. Like psychologists are like, don't save it up like that. You should be
Yeah,
using it
you're
throughout the
absolutely
year.
right. No, I agree. It's just I like the for some reason I always try to plan on 2 weeks. Just 2 weeks with my family
Sure.
where we're just
Yeah.
getting ready for
That makes
Christmas and
sense.
then
That
we
makes sense.
experience Christmas and then I go to work. It ends up being three somehow.
Yeah,
And
because
I
you don't
have
take
that,
time off.
yeah.
Because
And then all of a sudden around the 14th day, I'm like, I have no reason to get up and it's driving me nuts.
there's, I think shifting gears a little bit to like
Yeah.
how we use our vacation time, like as Americans, because my company is split between many, like the bulk of our workforce is split between the US and Greece.
Okay.
And Greece, I mean, their labor laws are strict, but much more worker friendly, to the point where like if you're they have like national days off. Like everybody takes off from this time to this time. Like
Yeah.
if like we have to report out, like my company has to report out to the Greek government, this is when people are taking their vacations. And if they find somebody that hasn't been taking vacations and taking care of themselves on a regular basis,
Yeah.
the company is responsible to explain, why is this person not taking off?
Yeah. Why isn't this
Like
person working all the
what's
time?
happening here that they don't feel like they, because we have an unlimited PTO policy.
Yeah.
And I fell into this recently because I've got a big project that I'm working on right now. It doesn't launch until mid-April, and I'm just kind of going.
Yeah.
I've been going kind of like a bat out of hell since January 1st. And I got I had a meeting with my boss and she's like, "Hey, when was the last time you took off?" I was like, "Oh, I don't."
1984.
Well, yeah, I'm like,
It's a Tuesday and it was
well,
raining.
I told her, I'm like, well, I had to take off like to take Kate to like a college thing. And she's like, no, I'm not saying like, when did you last take off to like
Do a
do something?
responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, when was the last time you took a day off?
Yeah.
I don't remember. She's like, that's a problem. You need to take a day off. I'm like, well, I took Friday off. She's like, you took Friday off to go to a funeral. You need to take a day off. Like, you need to take a day off.
Yeah.
And that's what one of the reasons I love about my company is like they're very much like, you need to take care of yourself. And
Yeah.
and for you, and I'm thinking, like, well, you know what? I get plenty of downtime. Like it hasn't been that stressful in
Right.
in my almost year with the company that I feel like, yeah, I'm in a grind time right now, but that's fine.
Well, I think first off, we're Americans, and so we're used to grind,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
We're also used to it's hard to get over that programming.
Yeah.
You saw your dad
There
do it. You
are
saw,
there are riots, full on fucking riots right now in France because the French government is voting to raise the retirement age from 62 to 63.
oh, so people don't get their retirement.
So no, it's not even that people don't get their retirement. I mean, there is that, like, if you're 62 and you're planning on retiring, they're like, no, we're going to move it up to 63.
Yeah.
And people are pissed. Like, how dare you? How dare you,
Yeah.
sir? Like,
Yeah.
and reading on Reddit, which is a much more internet, there's a lot of trash on Reddit, but there's some good stuff on there too. It's a much more international community, and they're like, hey, Americans, y'all work too damn hard. Like the rest of the country, like if at 60 you're not like, hey, couple more years and I'm done working.
I would almost dare say the problem with us is that we do work too hard. And the
Is.
problem with us is like going back to that that montage of Monday through Friday of what he
Yep.
does. That's
Yep.
exactly what it is for 75 years.
We built this industrial model of, you put in, I mean, I think we're one of the few countries that had to put laws in about how long you could work somebody.
Yeah.
And
Probably.
at what age you can start to work somebody. Because
Yep, that's true. Yep.
We had, I mean, and yes, the like London had child labor issues too, and like working kids, oh, you're small, you can fit between the parts of the machine without dying. Crawl in there and fix the boiler room or whatever it is. But yeah, we had to like put laws into place,
Right.
to protect from that, and we've just never really improved on them, or that sensibility of like, no, you work. Right now it's the common is the 40-hour work week, because
Right.
that's what you do, and that's what's going to make you as productive as you can be. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is like, no, we don't need to do that. We can do a 4-day work week and be just as productive. Watch how we do.
It's funny you said that. There's I listen to talk radio, and when the radio personalities that are done with their 3-hour block, the new radio personalities come in to do like the 9 to 12 block or something like that. So they have something called crosstalk, and one argument that they got into, or one discussion, was they were telling this older guy who you can tell is a grinder. He's been in doing this the same way all the time. He wakes up every day. He has eggs and toast. And that's like, he's that guy. He's so, and they're like, but he's like, they would ask him, oh, it's the guy I bumped into, David Kaplan.
Okay, sure.
Okay. Yeah. And so they asked him like, hey, there's these studies about how productive people are at 4 weeks versus 5. He's like, no, you need 5. You ain't working for me if you're not doing 5. He goes, they won't be productive. He goes, no, Cap, look, there is actually proof that they're actually more productive with a 4. He's like, I have to see those numbers. He goes, they're right fucking here, Cap.
Yeah.
It's like, look. Yeah.
I know.
What I'm saying is that mindset, he couldn't wrap his brain around that idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know a guy who runs a business, and I'm like, it was when people started working from home, and he's like, I don't like that. Their productivity is just going to drop. I'm like, have you taken data on that? Like, have you actually seen that people are just as productive when working from home than they are if they are in the office? And he's like, no, I don't believe that. I'm like, here it is. I mean, and this is like, a Forbes thing, or a Brandon Hall group. Like, these are business, like your little firm in Wisconsin could take advantage of this. And and he goes, no, I can't do it.
That'd be too hard.
So he made all his people like report in through the pandemic. I'm like, fuck, dude.
Yeah. Well, maybe our kids will have a better luck with that.
And they're definitely gonna have a different life.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. So let's end it there, man.
Okay, cool.
We're good. I think we're good. Yeah. So as usual, Greg, sign us out, sir.
Well, as you're going through your week, and some people are like, my kids are going to be on spring break, and so I'm going to have to be reminding them, like, we're going to be all stuck in the house together, living for a week. One son, off in France, people getting jealous. Just remember, when you're dealing with people and holidays are coming up, just don't be a douche.
There you go. For the Greg, this is Johnny saying thank you very much for listening to us. Have a great week, and we will see you here next Sunday. Take care. Podcast out.